Homework 8, Section 7.3, Simple Interest, video number 5. In the previous video, we used the simple interest formula to calculate the principal in a given setting. We can also use it to calculate the interest rate or to compute the interest rate. For example, a company invested $1 million for 114 months and earned $915,000 in simple interest. All right, this is some interest I could be happy with. What was the annual interest rate, round to the nearest 0.1%? Well, just like before, we're going to use the interest formula, but we've got one thing we need to deal with first, and that's the fact that the term is not in years. So when we set up the term, we're going to need to take the number of months and divide it by 12. Now we could do that right now, or we could just embed that inside of the problem and do it all in one fell swoop. What does the $1 million represent? They invested $1 million at the beginning. That would be your principal. And what would this $915,000 represent? Well, it's the interest that they earned, so it's capital I. Be very careful when you're identifying interest versus interest rate. One of them is capital I, one of them is lowercase r. Both of them involve the word interest. We are being asked what the annual interest rate is, so we're being asked to find r and some instructions on how to round it. Okay, let's get the answer set up. Again, the formula is capital I equals capital P times r times t. Our capital I, our interest earned, is $915,000. Our principal was a cool $1 million. Yeah, I can live off this interest, but look how much money I need to get started. The interest rate is something we don't know, so we're just going to leave it sitting there for a moment. And our time is 114 divided by 12. Since we were given months, but we need to calculate years. In the previous example, we just multiplied the two numbers that were on the right, and that's pretty much what we're going to do here, except that it has to be followed with a division problem. So in a calculator, you would just type 1,000,000, 6 zeros, times 114 divided by 12, and see what you would get. So let's see what we get. 1,000,000 times 114 divided by 12. Okay. This baby calculator is one you shouldn't be using for two reasons. Number one, in the next video, we're going to need an exponent button, and this one doesn't have one. Number two, this can't handle 9-digit numbers. How weak. All right, let me get a real calculator. Or one that can handle at least 9-digit numbers. Here's one. You don't have to spend a lot of money getting a fancy calculator. You could probably spend about $10 and get one a little nicer. Let's try this again. 1,000,000, 6 zeros, times 114 divided by 12 is 9,500,000. So we have 915,000 on the left. And the answer to that multiplication and division problem is 9,500,000. And we don't have r, so that's still sitting there. Let me write that this equals 9,500,000. And then to finish it off, just like we did before, we have to get rid of the number that's preventing the r from being by itself. That would be the 9,500,000. And the way you get rid of the number is do the opposite of how it's attached. Since the 9,500,000 is multiplied by the r, we're going to divide by 9,500,000. But if you divide the right side of an equation, you have to divide the left side also. Now, I do not expect this to come out to be a whole number. Why? Because it was a nice problem in the book and I changed the values. Nope. So our interest rate, and I'm going to write everything the calculator has here. Wavy equal sign, meaning that this is rounded off. 0.0963 0.157889. Your calculator may show more or less digits depending upon how much its display can handle. Now we do want our interest rate as a percent, so we should start by moving the decimal back to the right two places. So 9.631579% is approximately what the interest rate is. But the directions do say to round to the nearest tenth of a percent. The tenths place is one place to the right of the decimal, so we need to round to one decimal place. If we look to the right, the digit in the next decimal place is a 3. That's not large enough to round up. So we would round down to 90.6% interest. So calculating the interest rate is pretty straightforward. The hardest part is the rounding issues, which aren't really that hard. And remembering that if I want it as a percent, I need to move the decimal back to the right two places.